Uncharted was inspired by the fourth game in the series with the same name, Uncharted: A Thief's End. DNEG was the primary VFX vendor, completing 739 shots over 23 sequences. Other contributing VFX vendors included The Third Floor, Rise Visual Effects Studios, Soho VFX, and Savage Visual Effects. DNEG was tasked with handling two of the biggest sequences, including a 90-second shot in which Nate and Chloe, along with cargo crates and a Mercedes Gullwing car, fall out of a C-17 cargo plane whilst flying over the South China Sea. To begin creating the sequence, DNEG received LiDAR scans and HDR photography of each individual cargo crate and all the other props like the Mercedes Gullwing, as well as a full scan of the C-17 interior. A scale copy was built of the C-17 interior to be used as a physical set for principal photography, as was the entire chain of crates that were either hung from cranes or mounted on robotic arms depending on the needs of the shot. At the same time these were being built, DNEG also worked on a fully digital version of the Gullwing and the C-17 exterior model, with some modifications because the spec was to create a billionaire's version of the well-known plane. The part of the sequence where Nate and Chloe actually fall out of the C-17 was called the Oneer, because it was constructed to look like one continuous 90-second shot. For the plate photography, they had several practical elements with the actors hanging on wires and interacting with props. All the crates for the exterior were mounted on top of KUKA robot arms, so that they could move around in a programmed sequence. The crates were also made with extra padding and softer materials so that Tom and the stuntmen could jump on, in between and from one to the other, and grasp hold of the crate's netting without getting hurt. These practical crates gave such a realistic-looking reaction for most of the sequence that DNEG could get away with only doing head replacements on the shots with Tom's stuntman. However, other shots did end up having to be full digi-double because they either wanted the performance to be more violent or the camera to be more dynamic than what was shot. Throughout the entire sequence, they constantly switched between practical and digital, combining practical elements with long stretches of full CG moments. Some sections required digi-doubles that could hold up to tight shots and even transition between plate photography and digi-double right close up with nowhere to hide. The background environment was some multi-camera array footage that they shot at an altitude of around 7,500 feet that was stitched together and then augmented, and islands were removed to make it look a bit more desolate. All the clouds, wind, FX and debris were CG. The lighting was a challenge because the plates were shot on a blue screen soundstage with stationary lighting, but the characters are supposed to be falling through an environment with only one key light source: the sun. In order to overcome this, the team broke the sequence down into manageable sections which could then be assembled into one long shot in compositing at the end. They kept track of changing light directions and found creative solutions to make it all work with the plates, seeing the sun rotating on high-action freefall moments and then coming back to a more character-focused lighting when they were locked into practical photography. The scenes with Magellan's ships, the Trinidad and the Conception, required extensive VFX, not just for the ships, but also for the helicopters and the entire environment around them. In the case of the Conception, the set was split into 4 different stages: the stern, the main deck including the helm, the bow, and the crow's nest complete with a partial mast. LiDAR scans were taken of each set, and then DNEG had to piece them together, lining them up with each other and combining them with the overall design of the ship. The same process went into the Trinidad and other sets, like the helicopters. Between the 2 ships and helicopters, about 20 mercenaries all became part of different fights, which were augmented with head replacements of stunt people, or in some cases full digi-doubles. The helicopter and ship flight sequence was around 330 shots. They wanted it to be an action-packed sequence, especially the shots where we see the boats and helicopters moving through the karst landscape. But if they had followed the rules of real-world physics, the shots wouldn't have been dynamic or exciting. So, they had to try to find a balance between the visual aesthetic of the boats swinging around, the impact their weight would have on the helicopter's flight dynamics, and also stage the camera in such a way as to guide the audience through the disorienting action and still make the ships look massive at the same time. And this is perhaps what the visual effects teams did best throughout the entire movie. They found balance, and this balance meant that the chaotic action could be understood, that the impossible stunts could appear achievable, and that this virtual video game story, which is loved by so many, could become a reality.